The opinions expressed in this show do not necessarily reflect the views of Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network.
I remember Tampa, the way she used to be, the places we would run to, the faces we would see. Yes, I remember Tampa, those precious memories, a city rising on the move, a simple yet progressive groove. I remember Tampa, yeah, she remembers me. She remembers me.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this a very special and unique edition of the Tampa Natives Show. I'm your host, Mario Núñez, and today we are going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Rays. Don't you see my shirt? I've got it on. Today we're going to be talking with C.E.O. Ken Babby. That's Rays C.E.O. Ken Babby, and of course, Tampa City Councilman and mayoral candidate Bill Carlson. In just a moment, they're going to be joining us. What are we going to be talking about? Pray tell, we're going to be talking about the new proposal that has just hit the streets. Listen, I've read the proposal. I myself, and I don't know too much about the minutia. That's what we're here to do today, figure all that out. But it sounds like, wow, this is something that everybody can get behind. And there's not a person that I talk to out in the street that doesn't want the Rays to be on this side of the Bay, and certainly to stay in the Bay Area, right? We don't want them to leave Tampa, okay? Wink, wink. You know, we used to have Lopez Field here, and you historians know your baseball. All right, let's talk to the fellas because we've only got 30 minutes. This very special edition of the Tampa Native Show. Two shot, if you would, Mr. Director, please. Seated immediately to my left is Councilman Bill Carlson.
Good to see you again.
Guillermo, as I like to call him, Mr. Councilman. And
Sir.
Ken Babby, who I just met a moment ago, 15 minutes before we went on the air. And I got to tell you, I like this guy already because he's not very much taller than me. And I like that about him. I like that about him a lot.
We're off to a good start.
And he likes baseball.
And he loves baseball. The man is, well, he lives, breathes baseball. We won't go too far into his profile. He's going to come back and do another show for that. But he's been in baseball ownership for a minute. This isn't his first rodeo. He's owned minor league franchises. He knows how to run the operation. Okay? So, Bill, thank you for coming in. Ken, thank you for joining. And let's talk a little bit about, okay, so those of us that are baseball fans know a little bit about ERA, right, and RBI, and this new thing called WAR, wins against above replacement. I don't know exactly what that is, but baseball people do. But in local politics, there's something called a CRA, and there's something called a TIF, a TIF, and a CDD. We see all these in your proposal. You mention them, you allude to them. Give us a little bit of background. Those are the funding mechanisms, correct? For some of these, for the
Yeah, there are
proposal?
different parts of it. So CIT is one, community investment tax. That's the
Investment tax.
sales tax that's used for infrastructure.
Okay.
And it was created back in 1998. It's being renewed now for infrastructure. And that was part of the original proposal for the city.
Okay.
And then CDD is Community Development District. That's
Okay.
a government agency that will oversee how money is spent. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
Okay.
But it's set up to build infrastructure, and it's subject to public oversight. And then CRA is Community Redevelopment Area in the city of Tampa. There are 8 of them. Ybor City, Downtown, Channel District, East Tampa, Drew Park, etc. And then TIF is tax increment financing, of which a CRA is a type of TIF. So what a CRA or TIF is that you draw a line around a project or a neighborhood, and that the additional property tax money that's earned in that area stays in that area to be spent in that area. And so right now, for example, in downtown, folks wonder, why is it that with Water Street we don't have more money to pave roads? Because in downtown, Water Street taxes are trapped inside the downtown CRA. And we'll talk about that in a minute.
So these are funding mechanisms and oversight vehicles by which to distribute or oversee that funding that's collected.
Right.
Okay. That's important because people see that and they're not quite sure. All they know is, hey man, we got potholes and ditches that ain't getting fixed. Why are we spending this money on this when we should be spending it other places?
Yeah, and what we're going to talk about today is my proposal, and
Yes.
I say it's my proposal because nobody else has voted on it yet. It's just a proposal I'm throwing out there, and Ken has come along with me because we've been asked questions about whether the Rays look at that positively and whether this could potentially move the needle forward. Ultimately, any proposal, any contract has to be approved by the county commission the mayor and the city council. And because I'm on city council, I can't know what my colleagues think. He could know, but I can't know. And eventually we'll talk about it in a public forum, and there'll be discussions about it, and we'll decide whether to say yes or no. But in the meantime, what I wanted to do is get my proposal out in the community and get public input on it. And in the last few weeks, Ken and his team have done a great job getting public input from the community as well. And so, by the way, my email address is bill.carlson@tampa.gov. So if you like it or don't like the proposal, send me an email and let me know, ideally constructive criticism about what you think can be better about it.
bill.carlson@tampa.gov.
Yep.
We'll get that up on the screen in just a little bit. So the early returns, because we are in poll season. We're taking a poll every 5 minutes. First blush, early returns, favorable response?
I haven't done a poll about this. The full news on this proposal just came out over the weekend, and so now we're just starting to push it out.
That said, let me check my watch. It's Monday. Thank you for giving the Tampa Native Show the opportunity to speak to this, or to at least disseminate this to our audience, which I think is broader than even I anticipate, really and truthfully. When I least expect it, people tell me, oh, you're that guy from that show. And so thank you for coming in today to talk to us about this. We know the importance of being first, I guess, to communicate.
Well, the other thing is that every media outlet has a slightly different audience. Your
True.
audience, for sure, is people who care about Tampa, who are passionate about Tampa, and people who know about Tampa's rich history.
Thank you.
And we know that baseball has a very rich history in Tampa, and a lot of the most famous baseball players ever came out of Tampa. And so you all can talk about that at another show.
True.
But
Ybor
today,
City and West Tampa are the lifeblood of that history that you speak
Yeah.
to. And a lot of my audience, I think the sweet spot of my sweet spot baseball, you get that. A lot of my sweet spot is that age group that definitely votes and definitely has their ear to the ground and is paying attention. So if you need to communicate something, disseminate that information, these are the people we need to reach out to. So thanks. Ken, thank you for being here today.
Thank you for having us.
What say you? Your eyes are bright and you're smiling a lot. Is this something that resonates with you, what Bill has proposed?
Well, I'm smiling because the Rays have the best record in the American
There's
League.
no doubt. Let's go. You can't ring it. I'll ring it for you. Let's go.
I'm smiling because the Rays have the best home record in baseball. Do we get another ring?
Yes,
for that?
sir. You
Okay.
bet you we do.
And as we head into August, I couldn't imagine a greater honor than being in this role at this time, leading this organization alongside our partners on really bringing to closure, we hope, what's been a 25-year debate here in Tampa, which is about the future of the Rays. There have been starts, there have been stops, there have been multiple stadium plans, renderings, locations, Tampa, St. Pete, other places, and here we are. And I think within a matter of just a few weeks, after many months of negotiations, we see that there's a real path forward for our project. Many thanks to Councilman Carlson, but also his colleagues and our great staff at the county and the city, and folks that have been working alongside and at the Rays, of course, to really bring a collaborative public process. I read an article over the weekend that praised this project for doing it in the sunshine. As we all know, in Florida, it's a sunshine state, and everything we do is out in the open.
Absolutely.
And you can't go in a back room and negotiate a deal without anybody knowing. And so it was the councilman's good advice, just a few weeks ago, that despite the many meetings and rounds of discussions that we've had with county commissioners and city council members in the community, we've done over 36 public events talking about the program. He said, I want you to go back one more time and get feedback and really hear the feedback from city council, and also find a way for them to be part of making this a better deal for the public. The way that our city's set up with a county commission and a city council,
Mayor's office.
There's all these different folks in this deal. We have the state that we worked on for the land. We have Hillsborough College. It's been a complex journey these last 8 or 9 months. Amazingly, it hasn't even been a year since we've owned the team.
Feels like 5.
And it feels like 5. But I say, truthfully, it's been a fair process, an open process. We want to create a fair public-private partnership for the Rays here in Tampa, and I'm grateful to Councilman Carlson and many others that have stood up and said, let's find a way to get to what he would say a yes, yes, yes.
Win-win-win, as the article mentioned. And
yes.
I think that we can count on Councilman Carlson's leadership and And if nothing else, the guy is dead honest. I mean, he's going to do everything appropriately and above board. That's what I know about him.
Yeah.
And I traveled to Cuba with him. I saw him operate up close and personal. And Bill's
To the Rays game.
Thank you. Thank you.
right.
Wasn't that good?
Yeah.
Wasn't that amazing? We were there together. So can we get into a little bit of the minutia, if you will, just kind of drill down, get granular if you want to, Bill, on the all the machinations, what is the proposal?
So as elected officials, we represent the public. We have to represent all the different interests of the public, and different parts of the public have different ideas about this. There are some Rays fans who say just get it done as fast as possible. There are fiscally conservative people that say, hey, we want you to watch every penny and make sure you spend it correctly. There are people whose houses have flooded and they say, we need relief. You're not fixing our houses from flooding. You need to fix that. People whose sidewalks and roads have potholes all in them and they want us to fix that. And so as we're looking at all this, we're trying to figure out how do we bring it together, because although they might be able to push it through and get a vote, the best thing would be to get consensus in the community, get as much consensus as we can. And so that's what they've been working on the last few weeks, and we've been working on. And the purpose of interviews like this is to try to get more information from the public. So the bottom line on this proposal that's different than the MOU is that at the end of it, it will result in, depending on how the numbers turn out, $1.5 billion to $2 billion in money that would be put into a infrastructure trust fund. That's my proposal anyway. We have to still sell it to my colleagues in a meeting. But if we right now we don't have any other way to pay for the billions of dollars of backlog in flood prevention, sidewalks, parks, and roads. And the only way we could do it is to raise taxes. The public doesn't want us to raise taxes. Businesses don't want us to raise taxes. And the legislature doesn't want us to raise taxes. So we could be sitting here for 20 years without fixing the roads that are already broken. What this formula allows us to do is to create a fund that would help us not fix everything, but to fix up to a couple $2 billion worth of infrastructure. And the idea is that we wouldn't use CIT, so that's the community investment tax.
Thank you.
We wouldn't pull money away from other sources and other projects. What we would do is just focus on the property taxes generated in the project itself. And this project is different than other ballparks or stadiums because it has all the private sector stuff around it.
There you go.
So that property tax revenue from the private sector stuff will be captured inside the TIF, the Tax Increment Financing District. To protect Drew Park, we'll move the boundary of Drew Park CRA, Community Redevelopment Area, and then Drew Park will be able to manage its own future.
Autonomous.
They were concerned about how this might affect them. The original proposal was to use their CRA for this project. Now they have their separation. And we're proposing to give them an extra 30 years to control their own future. So they seem to be much more happy with that. There's still concerns we're working through, but they're happy. And then inside the TIF, the money that's collected in the private sector property taxes would be split three ways: city, county, and the rest would go to a community development district, CDD. That would make sure that the money has public oversight. It would not go directly to the Rays. It would go to the CDD, which has the public oversight, and that would be only spent on government-owned infrastructure. So roads, sidewalks, sewage, water. So even for the benefit of Drew Park, you're going to need to make the sewage and water lines bigger. Whatever the CDD improves, it'll be owned by the public sector. And then with the county also is going to own the ballpark. And
that's interesting that the county's going to own the ballpark.
And so later,
they've got some skin in the game too.
Yeah. So later on, when the TIF is generating more money, they'll be able to use it for renovations, which will prevent them from having to come back to the public. And this will be based on a performance system. So if they invest faster, then the money is generated faster, and if they invest slower, then it comes out slower. But the idea is that no money, from the city point of view, no money's going to the Rays directly. It's going to infrastructure. The infrastructure sure will benefit the Rays. Updating the ballpark will benefit the Rays, but the private sector parts of it will have no subsidy whatsoever. So they'll have to compete with other hotels and offices and apartments that anybody else builds throughout the city.
The fact that you're drawing this little boundary around the multi-use facility, including the stadium, that of course the county will own, as you just alluded to. Drew Park is safe because their money is going to be protected as well. That's separate and apart.
And the last two pieces because this is really a deal with the county, not the Rays, between the city and the county.
Correct.
We have to open up the interlocal agreement on the CRAs. And so while we're in there, one of the things I've been trying to do for years is to cut the downtown CRA in half. The downtown CRA, even if we cut it in half, will have more money than any of the other CRAs. And that's sufficient to do things that people want to do in downtown. But if you had to apply for a CRA today, downtown would not qualify because there's no more slum and blight. And so we're not hurting downtown. What we're doing is celebrating the success of downtown and taking half the money out. The rest of the city
and redirecting it.
The rest of the city has invested in downtown over the years, and now they're saying, hey, we need some of that money to fix our roads. So that money would go into this infrastructure trust along with the money coming from the TIF, and together it would be somewhere, estimate, between 1.5 and 2 billion over 35 years. The last piece is that while we're in there, East Tampa has asked for years, can we please extend our CRA? And so we've asked for additional 30 years so that East Tampa can continue
to
define itself.
2064, is that what I read today?
If we can get that much, if the legislature doesn't shut us down.
Yeah, poor Mayita won't be around in 2064, but I know my granddaughters will, so that's a good thing. And so just a different question, a little bit off topic, but did you have an epiphany? Is this something that you just worked on and kept you awake at night? When did you have this moment of clarity that this kind of came to you? What was the aha moment for you? Because there's a lot of moving parts to this, but there's some synchronicity as well. How did this come to you?
A lot of it's very public that a lot of my constituents were against the project. Some of them still are. So when
the previous form.
So when we got to the MOU,
right.
I was going to vote no, and they said, please vote yes, because we need to apply for money for Hillsborough College. And so I said, I'll vote yes, but I'll vote no for the eventual deal. That's because, for one thing, it had the community investment tax money in it. And I felt like we shouldn't use the city. City has much less community investment tax than the county, and I felt like we needed to use it on infrastructure for the city. And so we figured out a way to set that aside and then work on this tax revenue sharing deal, which actually Bonnie Wise and the county mostly came up with that. But now everything connected together creates a fund for the city to use on infrastructure. If we do nothing, if we don't move forward with this project, the rest of it is not built, and there's no money for infrastructure. So our choice is we do nothing for infrastructure for the next 20 years, or we raise taxes. So,
and again, we know how unfavorable raising taxes is. I mean, that's, we're getting those commercials now ad nauseum because we got governor's races and so on and so forth. So, and that's why people move to Florida. So they don't want to pay taxes. And we're talking about property taxes going away now. Okay, so what about the public services? We get it. And I think that's what people are clamoring about. They don't want their tax dollars to go to something that is not necessarily. But you've sounds to me like you've created the workaround.
So it's the win-win-win situation
Yes.
that we're trying to figure out, using the program that's in the book, Getting to Yes. And so the Rays are able to build what they need. The money will not go to the Rays. A part of it will go into the CDD, and it will have public oversight. It'll be managed, and it will enhance only publicly owned products. And then the city will get a fund without raising taxes to benefit the entire city.
That's being created as this particular multi-use facility continues to grow. There comes the tax revenue that you're referring to. People from Drew Park, if you're listening, you're going to be okay. Your money's protected. Your money's safe. We're going to be able to take care of the infrastructure that you need in Drew Park to bring you up to speed. I think having this in Drew Park and right there at where Hillsborough Community College, because that's what I call it, I graduated from there, is perfect.
Let me say this, there are a lot of small businesses and individual homeowners in Drew Park, and they don't want gentrification. They don't want the massive growth. This way they can manage it themselves. And to the extent that it happens adjacent to the project, then they'll control their own future.
At their pace.
I also have friends and constituents in West Tampa that are worried about traffic lights and roads and other issues. And at the request of the elected officials, Ken and his colleagues are out meeting with West Tampa constantly and introducing their colleagues to try to figure out how to resolve some of those issues.
Ken, back to you. Have you? Give me your feel for these passionate, wonderful people that are my cousins and my friends in West Tampa. I mean, this is a vocal group that knows their business and they're passionate. They don't mind speaking their mind.
Well, I think, we're coming into their neighborhood. We want to be part of their family, right? And that's the approach that we've taken to ingratiating ourselves, trying to figure out a way to make the whole community better. The councilman has outlined some of the ways that we'll be able to financially do that. They've told us, help fix our ditches. And, our roads are in bad repair and we need help with sidewalks and bike lanes. Those are all things that are now going to be possible, right? So within the CDD, which is effectively the district, right, that this structure that we're talking about will be set up in, there's now a source. The councilman talked about the 3 buckets. There's money that'll be reinvested back into the public infrastructure. There's money that'll be reinvested back into the ballpark itself, right? We have aged sports facilities, other sports facilities,
Upkeep is always
this community that need
maintenance.
help. They're always sort of asking for more money. We're saying, no, we're going to create a mechanism
Self-fund.
on the front end to be able to reinvest back into the ballpark for the community. Councilman member mentioned that it'll be owned by the county. And then the city and the county, of course, will have its own purposes, its own buckets to do the kinds of things that we're talking about here. So this deal now, which is so much better for the public, has an opportunity to really move forward. And it has a chance to move forward because it's really great. It's certainly great for baseball fans. We love talking about the game and the team. But this is bigger than baseball.
It's in our DNA, Ken.
This it is. But it's bigger than baseball. This is bigger than the Rays. It's bigger than building a ballpark. This is a project that ultimately is going to drive people to our community for tourism. It's going to bring people to the community to be able to, to bring jobs here in terms of, we're talking about 12,000 new permanent jobs, over $50 billion of economic impact, a brand new home for Hillsborough College, and now a funding source, a real funding source to make Tampa a better place to work, live, and play.
I love it. I love it. You don't have to convince me. I'm on team. Bring the team to Tampa. But I will also say this: if anybody's out there paying attention, have you checked out the proximity to the ACC campus, formerly the Borden's Dairy across the street, where I'm going back a little ways now, where the dorms are now, to Tampa International Airport? People are going to be able to fly in here and go straight. Within 5 minutes, within 15 minutes of baggage claim, they're going to be in their seats at the stadium. It's going to be amazing for the teams coming in. It's a venue, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be able to, from concerts to WWE events to, it's going to be spectacular. And oh, by the way, maybe we'll get an all-star game here, y'all. Have we ever had an all-star game? I don't think so, because our stadium won't facilitate it. And nobody wants to play here. There was a time when that stadium was built, the current stadium, and it was fine. But, why do we have to be last? Ray J's right there. As far as traffic is concerned, TPD's already worked out all those bugs. We've been doing it for the last how many years? Tampa Stadium was there, and before that, and now we've got Ray J.
And we're now going to expand the roads, and the state of Florida's now pledged infrastructure to be able to widen Dale Mabry, to bring more flyover bridges into the development. The state has been an amazing partner on this. They've stepped up and they've agreed to rejuvenate a college that is in desperate need of capital maintenance in its buildings. We can do one of these shows and bring our good friend Dr. Ken Atwater. He is so enthusiastic about this project. The state's been an enormous help there. The governor's already signed the budget. All we need to do is bring this deal through county and city, votes, and then ultimately at the end of the day, we're going to realize the end of a beginning of an incredible opportunity for our city.
One of the
sounds good, Ken.
One of the things that makes this really different is the proximity to Hillsborough College and the synergies between them. But a lot of people, when they think about it, think about Hillsborough College students working at restaurants or bars, because a lot of us did that when we were younger, right? But I talked to Dr. Atwater, and he'll have to represent what he's doing at the university. But he's got a growing AI division at Hillsborough College.
It seems to me like they could be folded into the Ray's family.
Exactly.
There are tech companies.
Curriculum to just
sports medicine.
There are tech companies that want to hire as many of those Hillsborough College students as they can.
Yeah.
And so imagine the ability to have an economic engine that's not just about real estate. It's about helping our young people not only stay in Tampa, but find jobs of the future so that they can lead the economy of the future in our city.
And the Rays at the tip of the spear. And this new project at the tip of the spear.
And so what's happening, unlike other stadium projects, is that because of the multi-use facilities around it, that's creating a revenue stream that we can then share in different levels. But the way we set it up now, the way they've agreed to set it up, is that it's going to have a lot of safeguards, so the public should be a lot happier about how their interests will be protected.
It sounds to me like the hurdles. I'm thinking the 110 high hurdles. I don't know who would want to run that event. I know it's a stud event. It just hurts me thinking about it. But it sounds like the hurdles have been lowered a little bit now. Like maybe we've gotten to a point where we can see the end. We can see the tape, man. Let's run through it, okay? So what's next? And I'll give you a chance, Councilman, and then can you tell us what's next? What's next?
So like I said at the beginning, the reason why I'm doing this interview and others, and the reason why CEO, the Rays is here, is just so we can get more feedback.
There you go.
It's from my perspective, I'm putting out a proposal. I got to get my colleagues to approve it.
Yes.
We got to get the county to approve it. If there's something that we can do better, send me an email, bill.carlson@tampa.gov. And ideally, make it constructive criticism. Don't just say whether you hate the Rays or love the Rays. Tell us whether what you like and don't like about the deal, and we'll try to incorporate some of the ideas based on the consensus. And then I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, I think this is all about creating transparency in a process and gaining feedback. The councilman provided his information. We have a whole website we've set up on raysbaseball.com, newballpark.raysbaseball.com. You can get all the facts, you can get all the figures, you can see all the renderings, the special events, yes, the baseball, all of the different pieces. But we want to hear feedback as well. And you can reach out to foreverhome@raysbaseball.com, and I'm happy to provide my email as well. It's ken@raysbaseball.com. This is the window of time where we want to hear from the community. In just a few short weeks, this proposal, this plan, will be brought to a vote both by Tampa City Council and by Hillsborough County Commission. And the board members and the council members will have a big decision, I'd arguably say one of the most important decisions in our city, on this project. But we want to go about doing it the right way. It has to be a fair project. You know, the Rays ownership group will put in over $1.2 billion privately into a county-owned building. We're taking on all of the cost overruns should the project run over. We're taking on all the operational maintenance of running the building. Certainly now we'll have this fund for CapEx to continue to reinvest in the building and renovate the building and do those things down the road. But it'll only come from revenues that we are creating together in these three buckets, the CDD, the county, and the city. And so, you know, my optimism is high. I'm a generally optimistic person, but I'm also a very realistic person, and I think there's a real path forward. You know, if we're collaborative, can move quickly, time is of the essence.
Of course.
This vote has to happen in August. Folks ask me,
We got to break ground.
why does this have to happen? Chairman Hagan said last week on an interview, we need decisions in August, and we need shovels in the ground in September. The Hillsborough Community College, Hillsborough College, needs to know whether this project's going to happen. The Rays are taking on this temporary site to help the college get ready for the next semester. We need to know in August whether or not that's going to happen, and we're going to urge our council members and Hillsborough County commissioners to move this deal forward in the next few weeks.
So I've only been involved for a couple
About
weeks.
3 minutes left in the show.
I've only been involved for a couple weeks. It was we had briefings, but I was not deeply involved. But one of the big questions is, why are they rushing this? Why are they rushing this? Well, you kind of heard him say, but they're paying for the Rays are paying for the temporary facilities, and they have to be ready by January for the Hillsborough College students.
Absolutely.
You have one as an intern here.
Absolutely.
And they need a place to stay. So if they miss that window, it might be June before they're able to do it again, and that's a huge cost to everybody.
They missed that window, they'll bounce off into space and never to be seen or heard from again.
So that's why if somebody loves the idea or hates the idea, send
We need
me
to
an
hear
email
from you.
now. Let us hear
What's
from
that
you.
email address again?
bill.carlson@tampa.gov.
And yours, Ken?
ken@raysbaseball.com.
Let me just say how privileged this has been. An absolute joy to sit here and talk with both of you gentlemen. I'm so grateful that you came in, you trusted us with this interview. Thank you so much. We're going to give you the Tampa Native Show bump. I don't know what that is, but that means a lot of people are going to be listening and they're going to react to this. I think I know what those three buckets are called. Win, win, and win. Those three buckets that we're referring to. So listen, I just want to say that I hope that you've got the information that you needed to at least to dig a little bit deeper for yourself. I'm convinced that we've broken new ground here, pun intended, and we need to break ground soon. If you heard the councilman and you heard the CEO, we need to get moving on this because time is of the essence. And here's to keeping baseball in Tampa, where it should have been all along. I could say that. I'll say that. Grab that mug right there, Councilman, if you would, please. Let me just say, on behalf of everybody that put this special edition of the Tampa Native Show together, with love in their hearts to keep you informed, entertained, and educated. And today you got a little bit of all three. Maybe not so much entertainment. This was more information.
It's play ball, Tampa
and
Bay.
education.
You're always entertaining.
Let me say thank you. Let me say salud and happy days. Thank you for watching.
Play ball.
Let's go play ball. Thank you, Tampa.